Oh, hello. Just recently, as you might recall, my trusted flatmate Dave decided to saunter unceremoniously off to Scotland for a few days without my prior consent, leaving me to do entire weeks of housework. I tried to take revenge by confiscating his leftover shortbread supply, and believe me, there was very little left over of that, I must say. So, I thought of another plan of revenge that would be even more effective. I confiscated the rest of his beloved Hornby trade set and maybe play around with it a little bit. Twinkle till later. Hello, welcome back to Scotland again. I've shifted pitch to Glasgow, where today we'll be exploring a former suburban life through the city. Well, when I say exploring, trying to explore at least. A little bit more on that one later. Meanwhile, I'm going to enjoy a merry little stroll through the gardens en route. There, standing radiantly across from me on the River Kelvin, is where we'll be starting a route exploration for today. Well, I did bend the truth there slightly, as there's a spot of track bed first. What we are walking on in this wonderful March sunshine is part of a triangular junction connecting Maryhill, right behind me, to Kelvinbridge stop cross on the city via this beauty built in the 1890s, while next door the Lanarkshire and Dumbartonshire route took trains round to Partick via Beeching and Kelvinside on that rusty old neighbour. Well, here we are at last on top of the viaduct in question. You will see that we've got a bit of space to walk in right down the side here. But some sparsely unobstructed crossover points as well. So we're just going to have a walk right around this big old girl. 276 feet long, 8 arches, 47 feet above the Kelvin River, and straight across from the other viaduct that took lines across to Belsalk over that way. The site of Maryhill Central was over the other side of that bridge just behind us, now lost beneath a Tesco. How original. Once safe out of this jungle again, we'll jump across to the other bridge and have a bit of a look there too, because that one was certainly more accessible above deck. In case you're wondering how I knew that already, that's because I had to come around this other side to get to where I've just been standing. And there is where I've just been standing. Apologies for the intrusion of the March sunlight. As always, stepping in to do its thing. Well, you'd rather have that than rain any day, wouldn't you? And the view straight down on the Kelvin still looks smashing, even when leaning against an iron railing. I think we'll have a quick bob around the Belsalk curve before we have to carry on again. A short half a mile back towards Glasgow again, and we'll get back to the railway once more. What we've got in front of us here is the remains of the bridge that once supported Kirklee station. You can probably quite easily see from the abutment design and the shape of the brick infill where the platforms used to be located. There was equal halves to the station on either side of the street, judging by this position and the size of the platforms. Little bits of ironwork still live up there. Well, here's the view from up top. And towards the distant left there, you can see the top of the bridge that is no longer, that we've just been standing below. And as mentioned, half of the platforms still stand tall over this side. And as I know you probably can't be able to see it from here because of the railings that are in the way, there is actually a 220 yard long tunnel taking this line right beneath the Botanic Gardens and into the next station beyond, funnily enough also called the Botanic Gardens as well. If you can just make out a tiny peg of pink graffiti through the trees, that is a tunnel entrance, sadly now boarded up, as since 2017. Kirklee opened its doors to passenger traffic in 1896 and closed in 1939. Similar to stations on the Edinburgh line we explored, it also had a brief closure between 1917 and 1919. The station's buildings were designed by Glasgow-based architect Sir John Burnett, also known, amongst things, for work on the British Museum in London. Nice rusting remnant of old railway fencing here on the left. And yes, even when it is rusting, it is nice. Now, I did warn you that there might be disappointment regarding my current day access to a couple of stations on this route, Kirklee being the first. Our next one's the second of those two. Now we just have to take a swift right turn off this path and sneak into a few bushes. And our second station is straight beneath our feet, behind this railing. There, enjoying a life of retirement deep in the trench, is Glasgow Botanic Gardens station. You can clearly make out a portion of the Kelvin-bound platform standing 25 feet above, behind a railing and a fence. So as to make it fair, we have to see the Kirklee and Maryhill bound side as well. You might be probably surprised at how well kept the platforms appear nowadays. The likely reason being that in recent years it was clear to make way for the set of a Batgirl movie, which sadly never came to fruition. I reckon it's what happened in the first few years following the station's closure that took most of the biscuit. Throughout the Second World War, the site of Botanic Gardens Station was used as a military research facility where they actually developed a man-eating plant species to protect themselves against any German invaders. Although this unlikely feat did succeed in the end, the only bratwurst that these plants actually enjoyed was 14 locals and 13 pets. And as a result, the operation soon folded. Now, with the powers that be having put enough steel fencing up to prevent us probing deeper, here's a selection of pictures from back in 2016, when my explorations were somewhat luckier. Just came down the steps to our final stop of the day. Somewhere around this corner, in the penetrating Glaswegian sunlight, tucked beneath that veil of blue-faced artistic brilliance you see nowadays, is the site of Kelvinbridge Station, which runs slightly behind its neighbours, opening in 1897 and closing in 1942, and was also on the Caledonian Railway's Lanarkshire and Dumbartonshire railway route. A sizable portion of the station's remains still sit behind that door, with the concrete on the right accounting for the exact position of the platform. As does some pretty robust ironwork up above us. The Caledonian railway route, eventually taken over by the London, Midland and Scottish Railway prior to its closure in 1964, took off in this direction further on towards Glasgow. Which is where I will have to be taking off as well now, I'm afraid. So, thanks for joining me on another Scottish adventure. Sorry I can bring all the stations in the way you wanted to have seen them, but if you forgive me, please subscribe. There's still another journey on the platform yet. Cheerio. Once out of this jungle again, we'll go and have a quick look at that other viaduct, I think, because it was clearly more accessible. Once safely out of this jungle, we'll shoot across and have another explore that other one. Oh, God. Once safely out of the jungle again. Garage. Signal box. Ooh. That's quite a fair bit, you know. This might have to be the engine. Almost the same colour. You know, I think I might wait till tomorrow and take it outside.